they did successfully, clear everyone out, and then there was probably 16 Humvees. They brought out a lot of National Guard armaments. There was some either some tear gas or something that was deployed there today in one of the structures. There was grandmothers on the ground and people who were just committed to making a final stand and expressing in one final way in this first battle against Trump tyranny. I mean, tyranny was on its way. The corporate state was on its way before Trump, but it just kind of exploded when they got their guy in there, and so we've got a lot of work to do. But this is the first battle in Trump's era that he inherited, and that was already going. And there's a lot of rights violations that happened out here. Morton County does need to be held accountable, but today and yesterday, I mean, yesterday it was real tough. You've been out here enough times that it changes you on a deeper level. You call it a spiritual level, call it a consciousness level. Something about there, that many people gathering and praying and singing and dancing and drumming, those have real impacts on the spiritual consciousness. And so it was really tough to see structures burning and all those things happening at the camp. But the last of the people who were there were arrested today, and we've got to check on our friend hopefully tomorrow. It usually takes at least a day to process people. But now the Sacred Stone Camp, the Cheyenne River Camp, and another camp known as the Black Hoop Camp are kind of accepting all the fallback people who seem to be refugees in their own homelands right now. People who have made that place their home for the last 6 to 8 months are now without shelter. And luckily, those 3 camps have built up their capacity so they could provide at least immediate shelter. And we're in rural Cannonball right now. We're not very far from the site of the No DAPL fight. And tribal police are actually working in cooperation with the National Park Service, the ATF. Probably the FBI isn't marked out here, but they're always out here. They have jurisdiction over major crimes here. And they're also working with Morton County and North Dakota law enforcement over the past couple days to, enforce this eviction.
What I've found interesting the last few days has been the selective concern. The governor and the police, we got to get those water protectors out because, the debris could go into the Missouri River and it could be an ecological disaster. I mean, it's so transparently comical compared to the lack of concern this whole time for your native rights, your sacred land, the water. What do you think in just terms of the narrative they've tried to push forward? I mean, even me, I duked it out with a TV anchor who was trying to, feign this concern.
And by the way, a huge shout out to that effort right there that you did with, his name is Chris Berg. I know that guy. I've interviewed with him, several times on the campaign trail when I first met you, and it's clear because you've been out here and because you're from outside the area, the level of propaganda, the level of, I don't like to over dramatize things, but it seems like there's a collusion between the media, the governor, the legislature, and even the law enforcement. For a while there, the law enforcement was just sending press releases to the media, and the media would put them out there as truth. So I haven't watched local media tonight to see how they might spin this thing, but I'm sure they're going to use those pictures and that material that was gathered there of them bulldozing structures and cleaning up trash and all of these efforts that the water protectors were going to take on themselves if in fact it appeared there really was going to be a flood. But that's in doubt. I mean, if when you're out here the snow is almost all melted and it's clearly not flooding out there, it's getting very slushy. But you're right that they're concerned their concern is feigned, because if they're worried about ecological concerns, they would not have done away with the environmental impact statement process or approved the permit to drill under the water so quickly with a pipeline that's going to carry 570,000 barrels of oil per day across our only drinking water source.
You know, I think a lot of people, I see it under the videos I'm doing on social media, a lot of people are just totally dejected at this point. You know, they thought there was a chance at victory in this battle, and now they feel, you know, just fascism's taking over, the corporate state. What can you do? You know, no matter how much we fight, we can't win. And I know Native Americans, something that's really opened my eyes. You guys your blood comes from prayer and faith. So what do you tell people? Obviously now in the background, there's another hearing on February 27th. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe has filed for another separate lawsuit for the overall case against the Army Corps. But what do you tell people, natives and non-natives, water protectors?
I think we have to keep heart. You're right about the February 27th hearing. That's for the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, and then there is a March 10th rally in D.C. that I'll be at. A lot of us are going to be at, but we can't lose hope, because it really does feel like we suffered a major defeat, and it's definitely a setback. You know, we're not going to have any pretense about the gravity of the loss that we're feeling. And oil may, in fact, be pumped through that pipeline one day. But there are other avenues to fight on. There are other pipelines to fight. Big extraction is not going anywhere anytime soon, and neither is big finance. And so we have to think of creative ways to kind of to assert ourselves, our progressive selves, and to really think about 2018, think about 2020, think about what to do with our capital and how to reposition ourselves, our strategy, our dollars, our buying power, everything at our disposal. Because what happened here, you know, it does feel it's raw right now. Over the last 48 hours, 24 hours, it's been just a raw feeling. But what we can't lose sight of is that this is the long haul here, and we need to be concentrating on the next 45 months of Trump's presidency, because he's made it very clear. I don't even think it's he himself that is making it clear, but it's the interest that he represents so well. They are making it clear that they are going to vilify and antagonize whole swaths of the American population, whether that's women's rights or black lives or LGBTQ or immigrants, people who have natural sovereign rights in this hemisphere, who are indigenous to this hemisphere, to being considered illegal human beings, or whether that's the whole of the Muslim faith. You pick your poison, or you pick your demographic, and Trump is probably lined up to discriminate against that demographic. And so I think it's a time for us that we're all going to come together. It's ironic because, I'm one of a couple people being charged with inciting a riot out here in North Dakota when Trump's presidency should be indicted for inciting riots across this entire nation. That's the irony, and kind of the silver lining is that, look, it feels like the black snake is tightening around us. It does feel like that. But also, we are witnessing something monumental that was, heretofore was simply not possible. A spiritual awakening on this level was not possible. People as far back as Tecumseh worked for it, though, in the early 1800s. I mean, he's literally rode a horse all over trying to spiritually awaken people. But now we have got technology. We speak the same language. There's barriers that don't exist anymore because, we can do things like what we're doing right now. And so we've got to take that spiritual awakening that did occur and will continue to occur if we recreate that energy or those conditions, or we just we work on it ourselves, but we got to translate that into, native nations. We are seeking liberation on different levels than the average American citizen, or even Black Lives Matter, or any other struggle in what is, now America, the great experiment that we are. But the spiritual foundation that we provided, that we will continue to provide, needs to somehow transform or help out the political liberation of Americans. Americans now more than ever need to think about what the true source of their sovereignty is, because right now it is your Constitution, our Constitution, and it is the treaties that America entered with native nations, because native nations actually recognize the sovereignty of a fledgling settler state, which was America, or it could have been Spain or Portugal or France or the UK who came into our hemisphere. And now we've got the United States and Canada. But I say these things about sovereignty because we've had those discussions out here on the ground, and Americans are at a point, I think, even though it's only been 240 years, that Americans have to create relationships with the waters, the sacred waters that are here. If we can't see them as sacred, then we've at least got to see them as the source of all economic value. And it's time for Americans to create relationships with the lands, the sacred sites, the natural elements, the natural beings that are here. That's all we've done as indigenous peoples over the past, 10, 20,000, however long we've been here. It's time that we have to start thinking about sovereignty, about human rights, and what it means to be an American. Where do you derive your sovereignty from? And that's why, like the Patriots, the Patriot movement in America, I was identifying with them, and I thought we would gain a tremendous amount of support from those people here. But we did get the vets, and that was a victory. I felt there's pieces of this whole struggle. It's crazy. I feel like I know you like a bro or something. I've seen you so many times out here that there's many things to take, many extremely powerful and positive things to take from the struggle out here, and to take it into the next 4 years for sure, and try to build upon that, try to translate that into politics, or even into our economics, where we put our money. The divestment movement, that's a huge thing that we can all pick up on that.